Hi everyone, Monique here, Intuitive Soul Savant. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, pop over to the playlists, Pluto, challenging aspects. And there's a heap of videos there that are relative and will help you out if you're having a challenging aspect with Pluto. So it's been a couple of weeks. I'm still not rebirthed, obviously. Because I don't feel that I have my foundations and systems in place yet. So I'm still waiting and accepting and surrendering and doing all of those beautiful things that Pluto has taught me on a very long journey. And today's video is all about Venus. And I have Venus and Mars in Aquarius. So when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius, then I will be facing more Pluto conjunctions to my personal planets. At the moment, Pluto is retrograding back to my natal sun, but it only goes a couple of minutes before my natal sun, so it's not going to be an exact hit, but I am still feeling that transformative energy. Not so much the darkness anymore, which is really a wonderful thing. And I've learned so much from this transit, and I have so much to share and give now. And you can pop over to my website, intuitivesoulsavant.com, and check out what I've got on offer there. And also I'm inviting people in to do their shadow work through the chakras with me on Patreon. So go into the description box and you'll find more information there. So let's get back to Venus. At the moment, our love planet Venus is retrograding in our romantic sign of Leo. And Leo is my ascendant, so I have retrograde Venus retrograding in my first house of self. But not only that, when I was born, Venus was retrograde in Leo's opposite sign of Aquarius. So I'm very much getting the downloads from the Venus retrograde. And here is something very interesting. If you've heard of progressed charts, then this will interest you. When I was born, Venus was retrograde in Aquarius, and then it progresses back each year in a progressed chart. And then at some stage, it will stop and go forward again. Well, it still hasn't even got to the 11 degrees Aquarius where my Venus was at birth. So really, I've made no forward steps, so to speak, as far as Venus is concerned. And I think it's next year it gets to, in my progressed chart, Venus will get to 11 degrees of Aquarius. So I'm very interested about that. Now let's talk about Venus retrograde, which you will all be feeling some way in your life, especially Librans and especially Taurians. The Taurians and Librans around me at the moment don't have access to that full power that they're ruled by, that full-blown Venus energy. A lot of them are quite frustrated with the energy because they don't understand that in a way their source of Venus ruling their sign is diminished in a sense, and asking them to withdraw energy and to go within to ascertain if there's anything that they can do that will help them as far as what the planet Venus rules. Now, what Venus rules is love. It rules the fourth chakra, the heart chakra. We must always remember that love flows through us. We don't own love. We can't hold love. We can't make love other than in the act of sexual intercourse, where we give over our body, we give over our heart, we give over our love to another for that choice, for that period of time, and then we come back into ourselves. It's only an unhealthy Venus when we we give our heart over to another and we don't retrieve that piece of ourselves. So Venus rules beauty, clothes, makeup, hair, all of these things when Venus is retrograde can become an issue, like one big 6 weeks of bad hair days, that sort of thing. Needing makeup, buying the wrong dress, all sorts of things that have got to do with how we beautify ourselves. Relationships is another big theme with Venus. Venus's opposition is Mars, our approach to life. Venus is our approach to love. So Venus's opposition being in Mars, Mars is very much about I, myself, I, Aries, I am, and Venus is more so we are. So that polarity, and now we have the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So we're going to have these themes very much in our consciousness in the next 18 months. And we started off with a Venus retrograde. So that's the relationships theme of Venus. Money, having the money to buy the beautiful things that we desire. Venus is about desire. Venus creates. It creates beauty in its surroundings. Designers, it's very creative as far as fashion design, house design, architecture, these sort of things. For a Venus-ruled person, that's a great career for them to have, is to go into some sort of creative design, even hairdressing, makeup artists, anything that is using beauty and heightening that mundane. It is a mundane energy of Venus, beautifying ourselves, beautifying our environment. Another theme is all the yummy foods and all the yummy things that are in the world that make us feel good and feel loved. These are all the Venus themes as well. Now, when we have Venus retrograde, everything that I've just mentioned is a little skewed. So I want to discuss Venus retrograde in the birth chart. And it's very important with your friends and family and your children. If they have a Venus retrograde, you really do need to take into account where they're coming from. They will never tell you that they have low self-worth, low self-esteem. They will never tell you that they don't feel beautiful. They will never tell you that they don't feel worthy of a love or owning beautiful things. They won't tell you that they don't believe that they're worthy of money that they receive in exchange for their services. They won't tell you that they would just love to have a life of creativity and not have to do anything else. And they won't tell you that they have food addictions. This is all inner. When a soul is born with Venus retrograde, these themes are a very big part of what the soul is working through. Number one is that self-worth. A person who is born with a retrograde Venus lacks self-worth from day dot. Day dot. That is a signature in the chart that a person who is born with Venus retrograde, it doesn't matter what sign, will have at some stage in their life to work through self-esteem, self-worth issues. That is the signature. And I know that because I've met people with Venus retrograde and I've swapped notes with them. And this is me. I'm showing you a part of myself that I fully understand after having to work with Venus retrograde for all of my life. This Venus retrograde in Leo that we're experiencing now, the new rebirth of Venus for the next 8-year cycle, it's almost like this is helping me rebirth from my Pluto transit, because All of these issues that I've just discussed have very much come under the radar with me, for me to see where I'm at now and in what way can I help myself to love myself more. I never felt attractive as a young person. I didn't think I was ugly, but I never felt attractive. I never smiled. And then when I did start smiling in my late 20s, it was a shock to me to see this different person who was able to put a smile on their face, especially in photos. As far as love goes, I've never married. So a person with a Venus retrograde would find it very difficult to find that right person that can accommodate the vulnerability of the low self-esteem. Relationships have been very difficult in my life. I think having Venus in Aquarius, Aquarians always feel a little different from the rest of the collective. They feel they've got very much individuals they are, that Aquarius energy. So in relationships, I've never felt a part of. Money, Pluto in the second house, conjunct Uranus in Virgo, has left me with no, and having this Venus retrograde, Venus is, I deserve to receive what I'm worth. However, if there is low self-esteem and no self-worth, then the Venus retrograde in the chart is actually backing up that lack of self-worth. So the inner work that's required having a Venus retrograde in the chart is to go within, to find that love within, not outside of ourselves. So the mundane themes of Venus, money, beauty, food, toxic relationships, those issues must be processed, looked at, and grown through for the soul to overcome that Venus retrograde in their chart. So it's very important for you new astrologers to take note if you're looking at a person's chart and you see that Venus retrograde, because Venus is a personal planet. So it affects the soul, the individual, the human. And as soon as you see that retrograde Venus, you will know that there is issues with self-worth. And this is very important because the heart chakra is what is love flowing through us. It's the opening to asking the universe for what we believe we're worthy of. And if there is low self-esteem, self-worth, then the soul doesn't think that they can receive all of those beautiful things in life. So a strong Venus, Kim Kardashian, anybody who's doing very well in life, if they haven't conquered others by power over methods, then it's because within they've attracted what they've desired because they have believed they are worth it. So a retrograde Venus is like having a jaggedy Saturn around, which tells the individual, no, you can't, you can only have a little bit. You can't have it all. You don't deserve it all. You must do this, 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 and this to deserve your desires that have come from your heart anyway. So it is a tricky placement to have the Venus retrograde, and not all people have it, obviously. Venus goes retrograde every two years, we'll say, and it's only retrograde for 6-7 weeks. So the people that are born in that time frame have chosen to come in to learn self-worth, among many other things. So you can see how a retrograde Venus would work in a chart and the aspects from that retrograde Venus. That's what needs to be looked at. But bottom line, there's self-worth issues, self-love issues. And when Venus retrogrades for all of us, we're advised not to have any surgeries that have got to do with our beauty, not buy beautiful items at that time because it may not work for us. Venus is weakened, and that's where she is at the moment. And she's just passed retrograde, past the sun. It's a new moon in Leo in a few hours, which will square Uranus. So Venus has squared Uranus in Taurus, a Venus-ruled sign. Venus is very much a part of the party with this new moon at the moment. And for all of us, when Venus goes retrograde, those themes, let's look at them. Are we overeating, overindulging? I'm not sure, and maybe you can put it into the comments, but having a retrograde Venus, I have had a sugar addiction all my life. Because that sugar, that love sugar, is not active, it isn't strong within my own makeup. So therefore, I've had to walk. It's a lesson I've had to learn. It's part of what I'm on the planet for. We're here to evolve. Having a retrograde Venus, there's the path. That's what astrology is so wonderful for. It shows us personally what areas we're working on. And we're all different, we're all individual. Creativity. They're usually very creative beings, but it happens inside the soul of the Venus retrograde person. And with the self-love, self-worth process, they can get through. We will get through. And when Venus retrogrades on its path, those born with Venus retrograde get an opportunity to really reflect and be shown these inadequacies, because it is an inadequacy. There's nothing wrong with us. We are perfect when we're born, but we are here to walk through life, to evolve and to work through and undertake different issues. It can be very, very tumultuous. You can imagine having breakup after breakup in relationships, not having any money, having food addictions, feeling ugly, letting yourself get ugly, because with the self-esteem, a Venus retrograde person can very easily go to not looking after themselves, not feeling worthy of looking after themselves. It's very deep. And you won't hear this from the Venus retrograde person's mouth because it's embarrassing. And it's confusing to them alone without having to tell others about it. You will notice these themes in a retrograde Venus person. You'll say, yeah, you look wonderful. And they go, oh, no, I don't think so. And it's not like they're asking for attention. They really don't think so. It's a journey with the Venus retrograde. And so I also ask you to have some compassion for your friends, family, children, and those around you that were born with the Venus retrograde. So thank you for listening. I hope this has helped anybody with a Venus retrograde in their chart to come to some understanding of why they feel a lack of self-worth. And so being born with that lack of self-worth and then being born into a toxic, dysfunctional family who just smash that in even further, creating patterns, more patterns of self-hate. And that's where it can end up. But all the answers are within, and there's also help from without to get to that point of self-love. And I don't know if a retrograde Venus person can ever get to that place of 100% self-worth. But I'll let you know. All right, everybody, you have a wonderful new moon. It's going to be amazing. The energies have been very beautiful. We're on a roll. We're rocking and rolling the next 2 years.